Hi there, my name is Cindy Davis. I'm the Content Director for AV Technology, and with me today is Ken Eagle, Vice President of Technology at Hall Technologies. Welcome, Ken.
Hey, thanks, Cindy. Super excited to be here to talk about USB workflows today.
And I have to be honest, I really hadn't heard of this before. So I'm going to just start off with, what is a USB workflow?
Yeah, great question. And you're right to say you really hadn't heard of it before. The reality is the USB workflow is a way for us to send communication signals when we communicate online, like we're doing today. And what I mean by USB is be able to connect to peripherals in a room, like a camera, a speakerphone, a microphone, somebody's computer, and be able to send two-way signals along with your audio and video. We create a workflow of communication between these devices, and you haven't heard of it, even though it's been around for quite a while. Lots of manufacturers like Hall have been working on this concept, but it was really accelerated by COVID over the past few years as everybody started working remotely, and this USB workflow became more important to the way we communicate.
Interesting. So how is that different than what would be currently being done without a real workflow?
Yeah. So without a real workflow, we were to jump on if we were to jump on a Teams or a Zoom chat, and I was in a room with 4 other people, I would start up that chat using my laptop, microphone, and speaker. And if you were in that room with me and you wanted to be able to be part of that conversation with the people on the other end, how would you do that? I know, maybe you would just come and stand over my shoulder and look over my camera and microphone. That would work, right? But it certainly wouldn't be very convenient in a meeting space. So that's how we would do it. But by having the USB, what makes it different is the switch, the presentation switch in the room, the equipment that I connect my laptop to allows me to share things like a camera and a microphone in the room with other participants. So you don't have to stand over my shoulder and look into my laptop to be part of the conversation.
Okay, so the switch actually really helps create that workflow.
It sure does. It brings those communication points from different types of devices together, audio, video, USB, brings them all into one space so we can communicate freely with each other and be engaging.
So how scalable is that? And how about if you take us through some different workflows based on the application from small to larger?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think we'll be able to show how versatile and scalable it is to use USB to create what we call today unified communication and collaboration, or UCC as a term we commonly hear.
What does a smaller workflow look like?
Okay, so let me show you an example of a USB workflow that we would use in a small size application. And by small, I mean a simple conference room from 2 to 5 people. Sometimes this is called a huddle space. Sometimes it's just a conference room. It's an informal meeting place where people can get together and share some ideas. And here at Hall Technologies, we use a product called Discovery. In fact, this is an example of our Discovery One product, which has a single gang transmitter. That's why it's called One. And you can see here, someone enters the room with a laptop right here. All right. And they want to connect to the room and begin a conversation. Perhaps it's a Zoom call like we're in right now. And inside that room, there is a display on the wall. There could be other devices like keyboard or a mouse to control something in the room. There could be a speakerphone, which means a speaker and a microphone built into the table. Could even be an interactive whiteboard so that we can capture and note things that we're working on. This person who walks in with their laptop, they want to connect to this wall plate, which could be built into the table or into a wall. And you would typically do that, as we've seen historically, via this HDMI connection right here. And when you do that, that gives you audio and video, puts your display up on the screen, allows you to share your ideas. But because we want to talk to these USB devices I highlighted down here, I've also got to plug a USB cable into this host port right here. And then this transmitter is connected to this black box, this receiver right down here. It's connected over a single category cable. That's this green line right here. So a nice, simple, easy installation. And that category cable extends this USB connection all the way through to this USB hub that's on the receiver where my local devices are connected. So once my laptop's plugged in and the circuit is created all the way through to the receiver and out to these end devices. These end devices, often called USB peripherals, will now show up as available on my PC. So if I start a Teams session now, I will have access to that interactive whiteboard, the keyboard, the mouse, the camera, or any other thing I want to do off the computer. And these are real nice and ideal in a huddle space, because this right here is a simple transmitter, allows one person to connect and be the primary presenter. You do your job, you're done. If the next person wants to connect, the presenter simply disconnects and passes the cable to the next person and they connect. An easy, low-cost solution that does exactly what you need it to do for USB workflow in a small meeting space or a huddle space.
Great. So where would that receiver go? Would that go in a rack or under a table? Where would that go?
Yes, great question. So because we have local connections here, an HDMI out that goes to the display and these USB hubs, we need to be somewhat close to the devices on the other end. Now with an HDMI out, we could be up to 25 feet away from the display. So that's a good thing, although the majority of the time, this receiver will go behind the display, but it can be up to 25 feet away. However, these USB connections, USB 2.0 connection, USB 2.0 will have a range of about 16.5 feet of distance. So those need to be just a little bit closer. So again, if your devices are an interactive whiteboard or a speaker or a microphone or a camera, those are likely close to the display. So again, mounting the receiver behind the display tends to be the most convenient place, although it doesn't have to exclusively be there.
I see that you've got the keyboard and the mouse connecting to the USB. What if you have a wireless keyboard and mouse?
That's no problem. You just need the little wireless USB transmitter that typically comes with those devices, and you plug that little wireless USB transmitter into the USB hub right here. And here you'll see a workflow that's similar to what we looked at for the huddle space, because we're using our Discovery series, but in this case, we're using something from the Hall Technologies called the Discovery 2. Discovery 2 means, look, it has two gang. It's a 2-gang fit into a standard wall back box. There's also a UK version of that too. You can see beside it, kind of grayed out here. I just wanted to show it for purposes for our audience so everybody can see that this will fit either way. And when you go to this device now, the transmitter adds a few things that we didn't see on the last diagram. It has the HDMI input. It has a second HDMI input. So here's number 1. Here's number 2, and on top of that, look at this, it adds in the USB-C as well. Very important, because USB-C is a style of USB connector that's becoming more and more popular. In fact, when you're buying devices in the market today, they're typically going to come with a USB-C port on them from this point forward. So we want to have devices that will allow you to use that USB-C port. So you have USB-C there. You still have a USB hub port like we saw in Discovery 1. And then you have up here these toggle buttons, which allow someone to walk into the room and press one button to turn the room on, get the display turned on, for example, so you're ready to present. And the other button allows you to toggle between these different HDMI and USB-C inputs so that you can change presenters easily without someone having to disconnect and then reconnect to share their presentation. So it automates things a little bit more, makes it simpler to use, and scales it up to be used with more people. Now, on the other side, the receiver, this black box down here, I'm going to put a check mark on it, it's the same receiver we saw with the Discovery 1. Now, that's key, and Hall Technologies did that on purpose. This way, you don't have to change receivers. They're universal. They work across all of our solutions. So it makes building these USB workflows very easy. You still got the 4-port USB hub over here, and you can see we've connected to that a HT cam. That's a PTZ 1080p camera. I've still been able to incorporate mouse, keyboard. Those are sometimes called HID devices into it. I can even have my output to a display right here as well. And on the input side, you can see I have a laptop connected here, and I've got a Mac connected here. Now, one important distinction with this new input panel that you want to know is that if you have a computer that does not have a USB-C port on it, but it has an HDMI port, then you will plug HDMI into either HDMI 1 or 2, and a standard USB cable into the USB hub. That's a USB type B port. And that will allow that laptop to integrate with the audio, video, and the USB workflow. But if your laptop is a newer one, like this MacBook I have modeled down here, it has a USB-C port. Remember, USB-C, while it is a different shaped connector, it also has some added functionality in that it combines together in a single port, audio, video, and the USB workflow. So I only need to connect a single cable if I have a USB-C port on my computer. So you have the option for both types of users in the room, plus the ability with Discovery to scale up and allow more people to participate in that USB workflow, to have that kind of UCC, that unified communication and collaboration experience with everyone that's participating.
All righty, so let's scale up. What do we have for the next size meeting space?
And I want to show you one out of a product that here at Hall Technologies we call Gemini. And this is actually a really unique product here. It's very cool. You can see from the diagram here, there's a lot more going on than what we saw in the Discovery workflows. Once we get beyond a small or a medium-sized meeting space, we can get to some fairly complicated installations in corporate conference rooms, in corporate boardrooms, in higher education applications, in lecture halls, places where we have presenters presenting from potentially more than one location. So not just several individuals around a conference room table who want to share, but maybe in addition to that conference room table, somebody who wants to share from a teaching station, a teaching desk, a podium, a presenter's location, where they may also be looking at a confidence monitor. So that gets significantly more complicated because now I need a USB workflow that not only works at my conference table and at my display, but in another area too. And if I'm doing that and I'm presenting from one area, I'm also going to want to have access to the USB devices, whether I'm at this table or at the display or at another area that's being used in the room. So we need a more complicated device that ties more USB peripherals together. So we're going to scale up again, and we're going to go to this product called Gemini. Now, Gemini, like we've seen with Discovery, does include a transmitter and a receiver, but it's not a wall plate in this case. It's two larger presentation switchers. One's a transmitter switcher, the other's a receiver switcher. And I'll start with the transmitter here on the left. You can see this one offers inputs because if you're going to present, you want inputs. You've got the ability to have VGA devices along with audio, a display port, HDMI, USB-C, like we just saw, and an HDMI output, so we can have a display right here hanging off of this individual product. Again, a USB hub. We have to have a USB hub on the device that allows our peripherals to be connected. Again, that could be the microphone, it could be a camera, mouse, keyboard, anything that's USB. We connect to those. Notice right here, I'm going to circle this too. There are two USB host ports right here. That means any of these presenters down here, laptops or MacBooks, once they connect via either USB-C or any of the other ports and a USB host port, they will get access to the switch, which means they can send their audio and their video to the display screen, and they can access those three USB hub ports and access those peripherals that are on that device. That gives me one complete switch, standalone. It's a complete USB workflow out of this one product. I don't need anything else. That's a finished solution right there. I got inputs and outputs, display, USB. But again, we're scaling up to something bigger. So I use this HDBaseT connection right here, this green line, to allow me to connect this transmitter to this receiver over here up to 100 meters away. And I get another USB workflow added to my system. Now look here, I've got more input devices, PCs, BYOD devices, all right here. And then I've got an output device here, a projector. So input, HDMI, input, HDMI, again, two more USB host connections, which means presenters can connect and get connection to the USB workflow, a USB hub for three more devices located in the system. Maybe that's a speaker, maybe that's a camera, could be an interactive whiteboard. If I plug these devices in over here at the receiver, the person connected way over here, this laptop right here, who's on the transmitter, not only can they access the USB devices that are on their transmitter over this green HDBaseT connection, they'll get access to these USB peripherals that are on this receiver over here too. We are doubling the amount of connections that this laptop can have access to. And I've got multiple people connected on the transmitter side, multiple individuals connected with devices to the receiver side. If we switch inputs from, let's say, presenter number 1 to presenter number 3, not only will the audio video switch on the screen, the USB connections will travel from the presenter 1 to presenter number 3. That is what truly makes a powerful USB workflow. I can access USB workflows from physically different presentation switches, and I can switch the USB connections along with the audio video switch. And this gives you a very advanced solution that will allow you to scale up very large and fill those large corporate applications, those government applications, those higher ed applications, where you need to be more flexible and engage a larger audience of participants. That's the Gemini.
So do these USB devices work within an AV over IP scenario?
So the answer is yes and no. So AV over IP is, the new emerging technology that allows us to build solutions that connect any source to any display in any scalable size environment we want. They're fantastic. And some AV over IP devices, like the Versa 4K products from Hall Technologies, do include USB hubs and host ports. So we have USB workflows built directly into those AV over IP devices to allow us to do what we've done right there. But what about those situations where someone has already bought a room with Discovery or Gemini, and they have USB workflows? They don't want to rip all that out, but they want to be able to connect those rooms to other rooms in a larger scenario. Can you do that? The answer is yes, absolutely. You can use AV over IP to connect these rooms together. However, all you're really going to be able to do is transmit the output of those rooms to another room. But that's okay, because if I'm in room 101 on the first floor and I want to connect to room 303 upstairs somewhere, I probably don't necessarily need to control the USB devices up there. It's more than likely someone's trying to send me a presentation or share in a conversation, and I can use AV over IP to link those rooms together. But if you actually want to engage in USB workflows, you would need more of a traditional AV over IP encoder decoder to do that. So the answer is yes and no, in that you can take your existing systems, you can link them using AV over IP, and it's great, but the USB workflow functionality is still unique to the room that you're in.
So anything beyond the wall plates or the transmitter and receiver that someone needs to create an overall USB workflow?
What I would suggest for anyone who's creating an overall USB workflow is take a look at what the room is intended to do. You can always expand these, which is great, they're scalable, but as we saw from the presentation today, you can start out of the gate at different levels of engagement. So if you know how many peripherals you're going to need in the room or what you want to do in the room, you can gauge that up front. HallTechAV.com is a great place to start and to see these different products and to see how they can scale to different sizes. It's a way to get you going and get you started on the right path to build a solution that's exactly right for the application that you need.
Great. My final question, are these products shipping?
Oh, the magic question. So these products from Hall Technologies are shipping. We showed these at ISE. We showed these at Infocom. These are in stock products at Hall Technologies. You can call today, see a demo, check on our website, see our products that are up there, and you can order these today and have them ready to go for your customers.
Ken, thanks so much. That was really a great description. I know a whole lot more about USB workflows than I ever did before. And I know our audience is going to really appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure, Cindy. It was great. We talked about a lot of great scalable products today and really excited about that.
And just before we leave, how does somebody find out more about USB workflows at Hall Technologies?
Yeah, the best way to find out is to check us out online, haltechav.com. You'll see all the workflows that I shared with you today. Plus, check out our social medias. Our marketing team posts a lot of great information out there. I'm really looking forward to getting more of these out. So stay tuned for additional content.
Great. Thanks so much.